Hello, I'm Claire Smith and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about the fragrances that make me happy. You know, they don't have to be expensive, they don't even have to be that complex, but there's something about these fragrances that just puts a smile on my face when I smell them. And I think maybe it's something to do with their sweetness level perhaps, or to do with their fruitiness, their zinginess, perhaps even their fizziness, perhaps even their feeling of their colour even. But there's something that's joyous about these fragrances, and I'm just going to talk you through each one of these and tell you what it is about them that makes me happy. So if you like this kind of content, then please do consider subscribing if you haven't done already, and also please like this video if you do end up liking this video. And if you are returning, then thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate you, and I'm just so grateful that people watch my videos, so thank you so much. So the first fragrance is one that I've only just recently found the joy in because I lost my sense of smell for a couple of days when I had a cold, and I'd been craving this fragrance, and actually on the third day of wearing it I finally could smell it again, and I just remember my joy at being able to smell this fragrance. So this one is Wanted Girl by Night. So this opens with a rum note, and actually if you blink you'd miss it. It's something that really isn't there for very long, it's gone very quickly, and you're left with something that I've heard many people on YouTube describe as grape syrup or grape candies. I don't think we really have grape candies or grape syrup in this country, but I can see what they mean. So if you took some black grapes and you boiled it down with sugar for ages and ages and ages until it just became a really sticky, gloopy sweetness, then that's really how this fragrance smells. But there are also white florals in this fragrance, so it's more like the nondescript white florals that you get in the original Wanted Girl. It just gives the fragrance a richness, those florals. It's really all about that really sweet, sticky fruitiness that you get in this fragrance. I think this one just gives me joy because of that sweetness, and because it takes me back to childhood. It takes me back to summer ice lollies, you know, when they're dripping and all the water's evaporating and you're being left with that sugary syrup. And yeah, it makes me think of those syrups that they put on ice cream as well, when you go and get an ice cream from an ice cream van. That's really what this fragrance is. It's that syrup, but in a perfume. This one's really long lasting, really projects. I can see why it's been popular. I think it'd be great for an evening out or a night out, something fun and informal. So that's Wanted Girl by Night. This next fragrance brings me joy because it just feels fluorescent. It just feels like it's fluorescent pink to me. And this one is Angel Nova. So this is a very divisive fragrance. I feel like some people love it, some people hate it. But there are a hardcore of people who just absolutely love this fragrance, and I can definitely see why. This one I really have to be in the mood for, but something about this just makes me smile. And I think it's because it's so zingy. It's got lychee, it's got raspberry in the beginning, and just those two notes just give it like a tropical fizziness almost. There's also rose in this fragrance, a really fresh pink rose, and actually with the lychee and the raspberry it turns into a rose that's been doused in some fizzy drink. It feels like you've gone back to the 80s or the 70s and you've got some incredibly artificial raspberry and lychee pop, and you've just doused this rose in this pop and the whole world has become fluorescent pink. It's just a really crazy fragrance. It's got a peppery woodiness in the dry down as well, which sticks around with that fruitiness and that rose. And this fragrance just has a strong, larger than life character about it. It's very, very long lasting as well. It's something that people can definitely smell on you. It really projects. And I think that's really what I find so joyous about this fragrance. It's just so over the top fruity and bright, and it has this kind of fizziness. The fizziness is really the thing that makes me feel the joy from this one. So that's Angel Nova. So the next fragrance is one that just smells of sweets to me, and it's actually Insolence by Guerlain. So this fragrance smells like Parma violet. So if you've had any kind of sugared violet candy, then you will know how this fragrance smells. So it's a little bit powdery. It's definitely got a fruitiness to it as well. And actually I think it's also that feeling of this fragrance being innocent but a little bit cheeky, almost like a fairy. This fragrance is often described as a fairy fragrance, and I would definitely agree with that description of it. It does smell like something a fairy would wear. And I think that's really why I like it and why it makes me feel happy, because yeah, it's got this cheekiness almost. I really love the purple colour of this fragrance as well. I think that, you know, just looking at this fragrance in the bottle, which is incredibly pretty, this sort of this bee bottle. They unfortunately don't come in these bottles anymore. They come in the more classic Guerlain shaped bottle. But yeah, just looking at this bottle and spraying this fragrance, and the fact that it's really quite strong and long lasting, and it's something that I can enjoy the whole day, just puts a smile on my face and makes me happy. So that's Insolence by Guerlain. So this next fragrance is one from Reminiscence, and it's from the Gourmandes line, and it's Dragée. So Dragée is a sugared almond fragrance. And I think that's really why I find this one happy and joyous, because it makes me think of weddings. That's when I come across sugared almonds. And I think traditionally you're meant to eat 5 sugared almonds, aren't you, for different facets of the couple's happiness. But yeah, sugared almonds are forever associated with people finding their life partner for me, and that happy feeling you get from going to someone's wedding when you know that 2 people who truly love each other are getting married. And yeah, this one is sugared almonds, but it also is orange blossom and also a bit of a powdery vanilla as well. It's something that's really quite gentle, quite close to skin. It's definitely a quiet happiness, this one, but yeah, it's very elegant, and it's just perfect for, you know, when you don't want a strong fragrance, but just something close to skin that you can smell and just smile quietly to yourself. So that's Dragée by Les Notes Gourmandes Reminiscence. So this next fragrance is just so fruity, and I think that's why I like it quite so much. And it's really interesting fruits you don't come across a lot in fragrance. So this one is L'Impératrice by Dolce & Gabbana, and it's from the anthology line. I think this was number 3 from the anthology line. I feel like the rest of the anthology line is long discontinued, but this one still lives on. And I feel like this one also had a bit of a renaissance a couple of years ago. I think people sort of readopted it and started talking about it again. And this is one that I remember trying when it almost first came out and just loving, but I haven't owned a bottle until just last year. So this fragrance is just so fruity, and I think that's really what makes this a happy fragrance for me. So this is a watermelon and kiwi fruit fragrance in the main. There is also rhubarb in this fragrance, but I really feel like the watermelon is the primary note here. And actually this fragrance is often described by people as a Jolly Rancher fragrance. And I would really agree with that. If you're a 90s UK kid and you were around at that time when Jolly Ranchers first came across the Atlantic and landed in the UK, and you tried one of those Jolly Rancher sweets and felt that sort of tart kind of zing to it, then you will know how this fragrance smells. And yeah, I love this fragrance as well because it's got like a creamy muskiness to it as well in the dry down, which is unfortunately quite short-lived, because once this fragrance dries down, it's pretty much gone. It is a fragrance that you do have to continuously reapply, unfortunately. But actually, I love this fragrance quite a lot, and I'm really quite happy to wear it and reapply it because I just really enjoy that zinginess, that watermelon, really fresh, really summeriness that you get at the beginning. I think for me, the happiness with this fragrance is that Jolly Rancher sweet feeling, but also the fact that it's got so much watermelon. Watermelon is a fruit that I associate with going on holiday, because watermelon is not really something you come across much in the UK. I only really sort of eat it when I'm in mainland Europe. So that's L'Impératrice by Dolce & Gabbana. This next fragrance is one from Jill Sander, and it's actually called Simply Poudrée. So if you look at the colour of this fragrance, which is kind of a milky pink colour, that's really how this fragrance smells. And I think actually the thing that I really like about this fragrance that makes me happy about it is that it's so clean. It just makes me feel clean and fresh, this one. So this fragrance smells a lot like Johnson's baby lotion, but it's definitely a sweetened version of Johnson's baby lotion. And I just find it quite comforting and quite calming. It really smells like you've just got out of a bath and you've kind of covered yourself in moisturiser. And I just always find baths quite relaxing, and they just make me sort of happy and content in a way. And yeah, I think this fragrance does the same thing. It's a very simplistic fragrance, and it's something that I think actually if you don't like Johnson's baby lotion, you're not going to like this fragrance. But I don't know, there's something about this fragrance that I just find, yeah, like almost sensual in a way, but in a very non-sexy way. Yeah, I kind of like an awareness of your own skin almost. So that's Jules Sander Simply Poudrée. So this next fragrance is one from Moschino, and Moschino are a brand that I don't love. I've probably decluttered more Moschino fragrances than any other brand, and I've used a few Moschino fragrances up, and I can't say that I've really been bothered by any of them apart from this one. So this is Moschino Funny. So this fragrance is a citrus fragrance and a tea fragrance, and actually the citrus here smells like orange rind with tea. As this dries down, it does become a bit woodier, but ultimately it's really all about that citrus and the tea, this fragrance. And I just really think that this one is quite uplifting and just makes me think of summer. And I think that's really what makes this a happy fragrance for me. I think the thing I also like about this one is that it's a citrus fragrance, but it's a long-lived citrus fragrance. Often citrus fragrances just fade immediately on me and they're just a little bit of a disappointment. You know, they start out really bright and happy, but then they're just gone. That's not the case with this one. It really does seem to last quite a few hours. And I think the thing I also like about this is that it feels somehow a little bit retro. It feels like the 2000s, this fragrance. It's just got something about it that takes me to that time period. So that's Moschino Funny. So the next fragrance is one from Cacharel and it's called Yes I Am. And I think this fragrance has just been spreading joy for a lot of people. This has been a really popular fragrance on YouTube. And it's not an expensive fragrance at all. It's actually really affordable. And it's something that I think a lot of people have fallen in love with because it's got caramel, it's got raspberry, and it's got that milky lactonic feel that people crave. So this one also has a touch of ginger, also a little bit of cardamom and some florals, but really it's all about that milky raspberry caramel, which people often describe as a raspberry milkshake. I don't think I'd go that far, but I think that it's something that does have a deliciousness about it, and I think that's really what I find joyous about this fragrance, what puts a smile on my face. People also really like this fragrance. It's something that you do get compliments on this one because people just like sweet fragrances, don't they? That's just a thing in life. I find that the fragrances that I often get comments on are the ones that are the cheaper ones. They're the ones that are stronger and that have sweeter notes in them. People just like that kind of fragrance. And this one is certainly one of those kinds of fragrances. So Yes I Am just makes me happy because of the smell and because of this insane bottle. This next fragrance is one from Mugler and it's Eau Croisière 2020. So this fragrance I think is meant to be fig, isn't it? But to me it smells more like mango or pineapple at points. I think maybe more pineapple to begin with and maybe mango later on. It also makes me think of the pineapple tree. It makes me think of the green leaves of the pineapple and also of the bark of the tree. And I think the reason for that is that it's got sort of like a green, almost like piney feel in the dry down. I feel like you could ignore most of the notes in this fragrance because it doesn't really make sense from how it smells. But yeah, I'd say pineapple trees and maybe some green mango kind of unripened skin are really what I get from this fragrance. I just think it's a very tropical feeling fragrance. It makes me think of holidays. It makes me think of, you know, going away somewhere to some island paradise. And I think that's why this one makes me feel happy. It's really long lasting fragrance as well. And it's really quite strong, which I think it is really lacking from a lot of summer fragrances. So that's Eau Croisière 2020 by Mugler. So the final fragrance is also one from Guerlain, and unfortunately it's discontinued, but this one really does put a smile on my face, so I had to include it. So this one is Coconut Fizz. So this fragrance is just one of the best coconut fragrances that I've ever smelt. It's just very realistic. It feels very much like you've just taken a coconut off a tree. It's still green and you're tapping into it and you're drinking that coconut water. If you've drunk coconut water, you will know exactly how this fragrance smells. It's a very green kind of smelling coconut. I think it's got bergamot in the opening as well as the coconut, and I think that really contributes to how natural and fresh this coconut smells. This is not your shampoo-y coconut. This is not your hairspray coconut. This is something that is very, very natural smelling. And I think that's why I like this one quite so much. When this dries down, it does have a touch of vanilla and it does have a creamy feel with some sandalwood, but actually that coconut really does stay throughout the fragrance and it's just gorgeous. I think the Aqua Allegoria range is meant to be quite short-lived, but this one lasts for quite a long time on my skin. I've been quite impressed by the longevity of this fragrance and also by how strong it is. It's something I don't need many sprays of to be able to smell this all day. So that's Coconut Fizz by Guerlain. So those are my 10 happy fragrances. Please let me know what are your happy fragrances, and also if you haven't done already, then please do consider subscribing, and also please press the like button if you did enjoy this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.